Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, it is a Football Friday game preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. And on today's show, I'm going to break down everything you need to know heading into a Week 12 matchup on the road against the New England Patriots. I'm going to give you my biggest keys to victory for the Titans on offense and on defense. We're going to zoom in, look at the individual matchups and individual battles to watch in this game. And to cap off the show, I'll give you my updated game and score prediction. So a lot to discuss on this Football Friday game preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Titans fans, we have a lot to talk about on this Football Friday game preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast as the Titans get ready for a matchup that may go a long way in deciding who gets the number one seed in the AFC. Before we dive into my keys to victory, do want to let you guys know that today's show is sponsored by Stat Hero. Stat Hero is the first of its kind daily fantasy sports platform where it's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. Winner takes all. Sign up for free right now at stathero.com/locked on and use promo code locked on for a 100% deposit match. Also, want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen every day. If this is your first ever listen to the Locked On Titans podcast, make sure that you subscribe on whatever platform you do stream. Also, make sure you check out the Locked On Titans YouTube channel to see the show live on video. Check me out on social media at Tic Tac Titans on Twitter for all my film content and film breakdowns. And check out the show Facebook page at Locked On Titans Pod. But with all of that housekeeping out of the way, it is time to dive into my game preview for this matchup. And we're going to talk keys to victory up front. We are going to start on the offensive side of the ball. And what I find most intriguing, something that me and Mike talked about from Locked On Patriots in our crossover Thursday on yesterday's show, there's going to be a fork in the road situation here for the Titans offense against the Patriots defense. Will Bill Belichick go away from zone coverage, which the Patriots have been running about 70% zone coverage on defense over their 5-game winning streak? Will they go away from zone coverage and go to man coverage, which is what most teams do to slow down the Titans offense? Seen a ton of man coverage this year. So will Bill Belichick, who notoriously will change his scheme and change his system and philosophy to do what's best for the week ahead, will he go away from that zone coverage that's been so effective and productive for the Patriots over their winning streak? And will he go to man? That will be something to watch. And I think the Titans need to dictate those terms because the Patriots have been playing a ton of zone coverage, but they've been doing it with 5 and 6 defensive backs out on the field. They're playing heavy personnel packages in the secondary with 3 safeties. They'll go with 2 cornerbacks on the outside and then 3 safeties as part of their nickel package. They'll play a ton of dime, which is something the Titans have played a lot of this year, with 6 defensive backs out on the field. So when you think about that, what's one way to control what the Patriots are doing on defense? And that's the Titans personnel packages. So if the Titans come out and they run heavy tight end personnel, 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, 13 personnel with 1 running back and 3 tight ends, 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 22 personnel, 2 running backs with a fullback in the backfield and then 2 tight ends. That will have to take the Patriots out of these heavy safety packages that they're running on defense and having success with on defense. Will the Patriots counter that? If the Titans come out in heavy tight end, will the Patriots say, hey, we're confident in our physical safeties, Kyle Duggar, Adrian Phillips. They play like linebackers for the Patriots. Will the Patriots say, hey, go ahead and play heavy personnel? We're not going to be affected in the run game. We're going to be just as good at run defense, and your tight ends aren't going to be able to get open on our DBs. So will the Titans be able to get the Patriots out of the personnel package they like to use on defense and get them into their base personnel? Or Will the Patriots just say, no, we're doing what we do best? And will they have success there? That is what I am watching for on offense. That's a key to victory. The schematic chess match that happens between Todd Downing and Bill Belichick and the personnel groupings that they're going to choose to use in this game. The Titans got the run game going against the Texans. They're going to have to get the run game going against the Patriots, and I would expect them to do that in heavy tight end personnel, and hopefully the Patriots counter by using base defense, getting them out of what they do best. Also, on the Titans offense, they got to take points and they got to avoid turnovers. I think this will be a low-scoring game if the Titans have a chance to win it, which means they got to take points every opportunity they can. They got to kick those field goals even when it seems like they should go for it, and they can't turn over the ball. I can't say that strongly enough. You guys know from watching the game last week, 5 turnovers. The Titans can't even have 1 turnover in this game if they expect to beat the Patriots. The Patriots have forced 13 turnovers in this 5-game winning streak. So 13 turnovers in 5 games. If they do that to the Titans offense has no chance to win this game. The Patriots have allowed 13 total points in their last 3 games. In the last 7 games, they've allowed 21 points or less. This is going to be low scoring, so you have to take the points and avoid the turnovers on offense. On defense, the Titans have to stop the run. The Patriots have gone over 130 rushing yards in the last 5 games. That is the bread and butter to their entire system. They're going to run power runs. They're going to run pull runs where they pull their offensive linemen and their tight ends into the holes. I would expect the Titans to look to use more 5-man fronts with the 4 defensive linemen, Danico Autry, Larrell Murchison. Tyler Tart looks to be out of this game, so it'll be Naquan Jones and then Jeffrey Simmons on the interior. Have Harold Landry hanging over on one side and create a 5-man front to try to stymie those pull plays and those trap plays. So that's what I expect the Titans to do. They have to stop the run when they're on defense, or the Patriots are just going to be able to play their game perfectly. Also, you got to make Mac Jones throw the ball deep. Mac Jones has 245 completions on the year. 188 of those completions have been below 10 yards or even below the line of scrimmage. 5 of Mac Jones's 8 interceptions on the year are when he's throwing the ball 10 yards or deeper, and he's got a 70% completion percentage right now. It drops to 50.4% when he throws the ball past 10 yards. So simply put, you have to make Mac Jones throw the ball past 10 yards, throw the ball deep. That's not what he likes to do. He likes to throw it short, get yards after the catch opportunities. I would expect the Titans to play tight press man coverage. They should be getting 2 of their outside cornerbacks back in this game, and they should be able to play better in coverage. So play press man, disrupt the timing of the short passing game for the Patriots, stop the run, and you're going to be able to win this game with defense. But we're going to continue talking about the matchups that will drive the result in this game as we look at the individual players to watch, the battles to watch. I'm going to talk about 2 on the offense, going to talk about 2 on the defense as well. Before we get into that, I want to tell you guys about today's sponsor, and that is our friends over at stathero.com. No one plays daily fantasy sports to lose. Winning feels so much better, but traditional fantasy sports are a long-term losing proposition because you never know who or what you're up against. Stat Hero is the first of its kind daily fantasy sports platform where it's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. Winner takes all. And here's the crazy part. Stat Hero shows you their lineup before you play, and you can handpick the team you want to face one-on-one. This never-before-seen innovation in fantasy sports and sports betting hybrid has Stat Hero players checking the odds that are over 4 times better than your normal fantasy app. So 4 times better odds to win with Stat Hero. Why? Because you don't have to compete against thousands of experts and unknown players. Stat Hero puts you in control of your fate. So with Stat Hero, you're in control of the stakes. You decide how much you're going to play for, and Stat Hero has no choice but to take it because they're daring you to beat them. Stat Hero's head-to-head, and that's what daily fantasy should be, one-on-one. So sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon and use the promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% match. stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply. fans, we are going to continue this Football Friday game preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. I'm going to get into the individual matchups to watch in this game. Before we do, want to thank you again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen every day. Make sure that you subscribe on whatever platform you do stream and check out the Locked On Titans YouTube channel as well. But looking at the individual battles, I think that the Titans defense is the most important thing in this game. It's what's going to be able to win them this matchup. The Titans defense has to play up to their peak, and they'll be able to win this game and force the Patriots offense into some mistakes. The individual battles that will determine that. For me, this game's all about the trenches. So the Titans defensive line against the Patriots offensive line will be what to watch. The Patriots finally have their healthy starting five on the offensive line back. And like I mentioned in the previous segment, they've gone for over 130 rushing yards in their last 5 games, a 5-game winning streak. If the Patriots do that to the Titans, they are in trouble. There's no other way around it. So the Titans defensive line has to hold up in the run game and make sure that the Patriots don't have one of those big successful days. I think the Titans have to hold the Patriots to about 110 rushing yards or less to be able to win this game. On the flip side of that, from the run defense to the pass rush, the Patriots offensive line is vulnerable in pass rush. During the 5-game winning streak, they've allowed 9 sacks. So they do allow some pressure on Mac Jones, and the Titans defensive line has proven that they can get some pressure. Now, there's no Bud Dupree, and when Bud Dupree doesn't play, it is obvious that the Titans defensive line struggles to get the consistent pressure that we've seen from them in their good moments this year. So without Bud Dupree, with him being on IR, the Titans need Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, and Danico Autry to step up in a major way. Ola Adeni was able to return to practice on Friday. That's a good sign for him being able to play, but Ola's contributions as a pass rusher have been up and down. Derek Roberson is finally healthy. He only got 4 snaps last week. The Titans are going to need much more from Roberson, but also, if I'm the Titans, I think you have to consider sending some blitzes, blitzing 5, 6 guys in this game. The Titans really haven't blitzed a lot this year. They've really been getting pressure with 4 people, and I think that that is ultimately what's going to be important for them to win a Super Bowl, but they don't have Bud Dupree as part of that fearsome foursome. So the Titans, who sit at 21% blitzing on the season, that is the 6th least amount in the NFL this year, I think they're going to have to blitz Mac Jones. He's not one of these quarterbacks that can escape the pocket, get away, hurt you by creating second reaction plays and playing off script. He's a guy who wants to get the ball out quick, get the ball out on time, let the offense do what it's supposed to, get the ball to his playmakers. So you blitz him, you play tight defense and man coverage, and you're going to disrupt timing. He's not a good second reaction player, and you might be able to get some turnovers. But all of that starts up front with the defensive line. They have to stop the run to give the Titans 3rd and long situations where they feel comfortable blitzing. And when the blitz happens, the Titans are going to get one-on-one situations. Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, Danico Autry have to win their one-on-one matchup. So the Titans defensive line against the Patriots offensive line is the biggest matchup to watch in this game. Also, the Titans linebackers against the Patriots running backs. The Patriots use their running backs in a variety of ways. They have 3 of them: Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, Brandon Bolden. Bolden's more of the pass catcher, James White style role, while Harris and Stevenson are kind of the bruising downhill running backs that they're looking for. Stevenson has a little bit more pop, but Harris is going to be the goal line guy. You're looking at Monty Rice, you're looking at Dylan Cole, and then you're looking at Jayon Brown. The Titans have to take those running backs down when they have a chance in the run game. You can't let them break tackles on the linebackers. And Jayon Brown, additional duties, has to be able to guard Brandon Bolden in one-on-one in man coverage when the Titans do that on 3rd downs. Brandon Bolden is a good running back catching out of the backfield, but he's no James White. So the Titans with Jayon Brown on him, a little concerning though, because Jayon really struggled with Mark Ingram. So the Patriots may look to take advantage of Jayon Brown. If Jayon Brown can play good in man coverage against Brandon Bolden, that'll do a lot for the Titans in this game. So the linebackers against the running backs, the defensive line against the O-line, that's what I'm looking for on defense for the Titans. As for the offense, I'm looking for the Titans tight ends against the versatile physical safeties of the Patriots. I mentioned them earlier. You're going to have Kyle Duggar. You're going to have Adrian Phillips. And those guys have been playing a ton for the Patriots, and they basically function as linebackers, which makes the Patriots very hard to beat because they can keep those safeties on the field even when other teams are in base packages on offense, and they don't lose any physicality in the run game. Well, that can't be the case for the Titans to win. The Titans tight ends, Jeff Swaim, should be back in this game. They have Michael Pruitt, Anthony Firkser, Tommy Hudson is finally back on the roster. Those guys are going to have to win their matchups, not only in the run game, but also in the pass game. Run game is most important for me, though. The tight ends have to whoop the defensive backs of the New England Patriots if they try to play them as linebackers at the second level. That has to be wins. Pruitt and Swaim and Hudson have to dominate those guys when they're blocking them one-on-one and open up opportunities for the Titans running backs. And in the passing game, Firkser's going to have to get open on these guys. Swaim's going to have to get open on these guys at least a little bit because the Titans at wide receiver are decimated. A.J. Brown has been ruled out for this game, so the Titans are going to be without their top three wide receivers. They let Josh Reynolds go. He's catching touchdown passes for the Lions. Could they have used him? You make up your own mind. But either way, the Titans are going to have Dez Fitzpatrick, Golden Tate, Chester Rogers, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine out there. They're going to need more from their tight ends in this game, especially if they want to stay in those heavy personnel packages to try to, get the chess pieces where they want them, as we talked about in the first segment when we talked about the Titans offense and tight end packages. So the tight ends versus the safeties of the Patriots, and then the Titans offensive line against that really feisty defensive line of the New England Patriots. Lawrence Guy, Christian Barmore, you got Galchuk, Matt Judon has been dominant on the outside. The Titans O-line really got things going in the run game last week, but it was against the Houston Texans, who are one of the worst teams in the NFL and have the second worst run defense in the NFL coming into that game. The Patriots are the best run defense in the NFL right now during their hot streak. And that defensive line has been playing great. It's healthy. The Titans offensive line giving up 31 sacks on the year, one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL in pass protection. So the Titans have to dominate up front with the O-line and do well in the run game so they're not in third and long situations. Whether the Titans offensive line could come to play in this game, the Titans offensive line is the only healthy thing left on this offense. Nate Davis is going to be out of this game, but worth mentioning with the linebackers and defense, Rashaan Evans and David Long are out of this game. So I figured everybody probably was on board with that. They've missed a few weeks now, and they're going to miss this game. That's vitally important. But the Titans offensive line is only going to be missing Nate Davis, and Aaron Brewer is a good enough player where the Titans can have some semblance of offensive line play with him. So if the Titans offensive line, the only healthy group on this offense, doesn't play their best game, the Titans won't be able to win this game. So those are the matchups I'm looking for. The trench matchups, the linebackers against the running backs on defense, the tight ends against the safeties on Titans offense. We are going to talk about my prediction, game and score prediction for this game in our final segment. We're also going to talk about the gambling aspect of this game, the fantasy aspect of this game, and talk about the remaining AFC slate that I think are games that Titans fans need to be paying attention to. Before we get into those, though, I do want to tell you about the best tasting protein bar in the galaxy from our friends over at Built Bar. They have a ton of delicious flavors. They really have something for everybody. All the bars are covered in 100% chocolate. They're soft and easy to chew. They're not chalky and waxy and hard to choke down like a lot of protein bars. They have a brand new flavor right now, the Ruby Chocolate Puff. It's got some marshmallowy goodness in there. It's absolutely delicious. Make sure that you check that out. Go to their website right now. Use the promo code LOCKED20. That's promo code LOCKED20 at BuiltBar.com. You're going to get 20% off Built Bar, and you're going to get 2 of their brand new Crave bars for free. So what's a Crave bar? It's basically a candy bar. It's not a protein bar. It's just a regular candy bar. It's caramel flavored. It's still low calorie with 17 grams of protein though. So it definitely can function for you as a healthy snack alternative. So you're going to get 2 of those for free when you go to BuiltBar.com, use promo code LOCK20, and you're going to get 20% off your Built Bars that you decide to order. You can also get 60% off the Built Broth or the Built Boost, 40% off Built Bar swag. So just go to BuiltBar.com, check out the entire website, and use that promo code LOCKED20. Also, it's Thanksgiving, and we all know what that means. football. And nothing goes better with football than turkey and betting. So make sure that you go to betonline.ag this holiday season. Check out all of the new updated odds, props, and everything that they have to offer over there. They have more than just football, though. They have pro and college basketball, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. So don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers. Go to betonline.ag right now. Use the promo code Locked On. You're going to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, they're stuffed with deals this Thanksgiving season. Titans fans, we are going to cap off today's Football Friday game preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast by going over my updated game and score prediction, talking a little fantasy, talking a little gambling, and going over the games to watch for you guys as we look for the Tennessee Titans to push towards the number 1 seed. Before we get into that, though, do want to thank you all for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen every day. As for that second listen, make sure that you check out the Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. They've been on a major hot streak this year. So take advantage of all that gambling knowledge by checking out the Locked On Bets podcast wherever you get your podcasts. But I gave a game and score prediction on yesterday's locked crossover Thursday. But after looking at some extra things, finishing up my research for the game, I'm going to update that a little bit as I reserve the right to do. Okay. So for me, looking at this game, the Titans are without David Long. They're without Rashaan Evans. They're without Tyir Tart, trying to stop one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. They have no NFL wide receivers. I mean, Nick Westbrook-Akina, maybe. Chester Rogers, he could be on a practice squad. Des Fitzpatrick probably shouldn't even be on a practice squad. So when you take that into account against a Patriots defense that's playing maybe the best football in the NFL, definitely the best defense in the NFL right now, I just think it's going to be tough for the Titans to operate on offense, and I think that the Patriots offense doesn't even have to have that good of a day against the Titans defense for them to outscore the Titans offense in this game. So for me, I understand that the Titans usually win these games. When the back's against the wall and we think all is lost, the Titans usually find a way to win these games, but they don't have their players that help them win these games. I just don't know what else to say. The Titans set the record for most players on an active roster throughout a season already. And you got Diana Rossini out here on Friday afternoon tweeting, the Titans usually play well, but this may be too much for them to overcome. She talks directly to John Robinson. So Robinson is telling her, I just don't know if we got what it takes to get over this one. The Titans couldn't even practice this week because they don't have enough guys. They don't have enough people to play. No McNichols, no Tart, no Evans, no Long, no AJ. I mean, no Bud Dupree, no Julio Jones, no Marcus Johnson. I mean, we could just keep going and going. It's just outrageous. No Dan Cruikshank. Chris Jackson's placed on IR. No Nate Davis in this game also. I just don't know what the Titans are expected to do here. So for me, 23-16, the Patriots win. That's going to be my guess, and I can see it being 23-13 as well if Randy Bullock misses one of his kicks. I just think it's going to be incredibly hard for the Titans to get anything going on offense. They don't have an NFL offense right now. They just don't. They're missing their top 3 running backs, missing their top 3 wide receivers. I just don't know what we expect them to do. If they win this game, it pretty much secures the number 1 seed in the AFC based on the schedule going forward. Mike Vrabel's the coach of the year. No question about it. In the race now. Carve his name on it. Rename the award in his name. I don't care. This would be absolutely preposterous to win this game on the road against the Patriots. Gonna be a tough task. So 23-16 Patriots is my prediction. The line right now is -7 for the Patriots. They're 7-point favorites. I have the game being 7. I wouldn't touch that line. I mean, if you like the Titans, take them +7. This is probably the best line that you're going to get on the Titans all year. But I just can't feel comfortable looking at the offense in the way that it is right now. And it's not really anybody's fault. It's just the injuries. As for the over-under, 43.5, I'm not touching that. This game could be 13-12, and I would not be shocked. So no way that I'm touching the over-under when it's 43.5, because 43.5, 24-21, and you're over. I'm not touching that line. So probably staying away gambling wise for me. For fantasy, if you're really looking for a swing for the fences on a cheap flex and daily, I would consider Chester Rogers or Dontrell Hilliard. But other than that, I'm not playing anybody for the Titans in this game against that Patriots defense. And then looking at the AFC slate here, the Bills won, so they're 7-4. They're definitely hoping for a Tennessee Titans win in this one to catch up with New England. Tampa Bay is going on the road to play at Indianapolis. That is the big game. Indy 6-5. I mean, the Titans need Tampa Bay to win that game. The Titans need Tampa Bay to win that game. And Tampa Bay's coming off a 30-10 beatdown on Monday Night Football after playing some bad football before that. The Titans need Tampa Bay to win that game. There's no question about it. I would rather Tampa Bay, well, no, I can't say that. But, I mean, a Tampa Bay win is nearly as important as a Titans win. Not quite because of the conference implications, but, boy, the Titans need a little bit of breathing room from Indy, who is playing hot football right now. Also, the Jets are at the Jags. The Falcons are at the Jags. The Jets are at the Texans. Both those teams are 2-8, the Texans and the Jags. Just letting you know. And then another one to watch, the Browns at the 7-3 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are still right in there fighting for the number 1 seed. They only got 3 losses on the year, which is, right there with the Titans. So pay attention to Baltimore and the Browns. That'll be a game to watch. But that's going to do it for me today. I'm going to be back with you guys on Sunday night for the 10-minute postcast. I'm going to be back with a full 30-minute episode breaking down the game as well. Good luck to you all. Hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving as well. Sorry that the show is a little bit later than normal, but hey, I'm trying to enjoy the holidays as well. I'm sure you guys understand. But that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.